Hello everyone, welcome back to Bits and Bob's Divination. My name is Caitlin, and today we're going to be looking into not only what you are planting, but also what you are harvesting at this time and any advice coming through from Spirit. So let's go ahead and get started. Alright, so welcome back my beautiful kindred spirits and anyone new who is joining here for the very first time in this kindred space. It's wonderful to have you as we are going to be looking into not only what you are planting but also what you're harvesting, as when I am recording this, although you could be watching this at any time, it is the spring and also the autumn equinox. So both sides of the two hemispheres are kind of playing with the two different energies of planting and harvesting. So I thought it'd be really fun to bridge the gap here and see how they work together, and any advice coming through. So I'm really excited for this one. If you are excited too, then definitely feel free to give this video a like, and if you are new, definitely feel free and consider subscribing to this kindred spirit space and community. I'd love to have you here as I put out new readings every single Monday for your own spiritual growth, empowerment, for career and love, and so many other different messages you may be looking into. But I also provide different offerings that you can check out, as well as I'm currently offering snail mail readings that are for all different types of queries and questions and themes that you may be interested in. But these are going to be typewritten on a vintage typewriter and sent to you in the mail, wax sealed closed. So those are a lot of fun, and there's even magical extras you could get. Speaking of magical extras, I also currently have 2 sets left of the Ostara and Spring Equinox paper. The equinox is past or currently, happening at this time when you are watching this. So if you want to still play around with that spring energy, then definitely feel free to send a message to me and let me know, as I am providing that for eco-friendly magical paper for spells and rituals around the spring time. So definitely feel free to check all of that down below, as well as the Kindred tip jar, as it's a great way to support this space and uplift this space to continue to keep it going. So thank you for listening to all the ways you can interact with this space and uplift it, as we are now going to go ahead and look at these piles. So for pile number 1 here, we have a walnut that hasn't been opened yet. It still is in its shell. It's quite heavy, very dark brown with these beautiful textures. So that is pile number 1. For pile number 2 here, we have a candle, a wax candle with a little wick, and it is a succulent. It's in this little tin pan. So that is pile number 2. And for our third pile here, we have a piece of bark. This bark has little green pieces of moss and lichen on it. It's very textured, very brown, but also that spring green and mossy beautifulness to it. So that is pile number 3. So as always, before you start heading off to your pile, I invite you to take a deep cleansing breath here together with me in just a moment to really connect with your intuition, connect with the different piles, and see what really comes and sparks to you. So let's go ahead and take a deep breath together here now. And as always, there's no right or wrong way to choose your piles. You can choose 1, 2, 3, choose a pile, flip-flop, change your mind, play around with them and see what your intuition sparks. All of the timestamps will be down below in the description, as well as within the chapter marks of this video. And as I mentioned earlier, definitely feel free to subscribe, like, comment down below, and also check out the different offerings that I provide for snail mail readings, for magical offerings, for ritual and handmade paper, as well as the Kindred tip jar down below. So thank you so much for supporting this space and being here to support yourself. And let's go ahead and get started with pile number 1. Hello group 1. If you've decided to choose this walnut, then this is the pile for you. I'm going to go ahead and set it down right here for you so you can see it during your reading today, as we are going to be looking into 2 different sides of the coin here, with both the spring and fall energies on their way in, with the what you're planting, what you're putting your intentions and motivation towards and what you're harvesting. So what you've put all of that towards and what's harvesting in from whichever season you're heading into. So that in mind, we're going to be using the charms. We might be using the watercolor affirmations today. I'm not sure. But we are going to be using several different oracle decks, and the tarot deck of choice today I'm really excited about is the Antique Anatomy Tarot, and I love this because it actually has florals and more of that spookier vibe. So it's definitely perfect for this reading, but we're actually not going to be starting with a tarot deck, and the deck that we're going to be using here today for that is actually going to be the Seed and Sickle Oracle, and I have been studying this deck since December, and it's a lot of cards because each card has 2 meanings to it. So I'm really excited to finally be able to use it on the channel here today, and I hope you enjoy it here too with me. But we're going to start off by pulling 1 card for what you're planting and 1 card for your harvest, and we're going to see how that all interacts as we go on. So definitely feel free to get settled, send your energy in, get cozy, and we're going to go ahead and get started. So Group one, what do you have coming in for what you're planting? 1 card, please, for what Group 1 is planting at this time, putting their motivation, energy into. Okay, interesting that you would get alder. So this is a winter suit. It is 43 in case the number matters for you, and you got alder, which is a specific tree, and we'll talk on this here in a moment. I want to have both of your cards here before I start on that. So definitely send your energy in. That always helps and does make a difference. So let's see what you're harvesting then. So at this time, what are you harvesting? Okay. Really lovely to have these 2, especially together. So you have lavender showing up here with the number 16, and this is in the summer suit. So you have both summer and winter, which I think is interesting since the time in which I am filming this, we are actually heading into spring and fall or autumn. So really interesting to have that different dichotomy there. But yeah, 43, 16, alder and lavender here. So the reason why I find these 2 being really interesting that you've gotten them together is that whenever we think of what we're planting, we tend to hopefully think of things that are quite hopeful, that are quite beautiful, or things that we really want to manifest. But sometimes we find ourselves along the way planting seeds we didn't expect or didn't exactly want to be planting. And so that's why I think this reading is really important, seeing as you got alder. And the alder tree, and since learning about this card and about alder wood, I found that the alder wood is actually quite explosive. So it was used for gunpowder, it was used for other explosives, I believe, and things like that. And this talks about emotions that build up really quickly and make us speak our words or take actions that are quite impulsive, that are based off of ideas that are feeling quite challenging or from struggle or pain. So what's important is to learn about this card is that what you're planting at this time is actually conflict, gossip, or things that are going to be more difficult or more of a struggle within your relationships at this time. And so this is actually a really good kind of warning or card to help you pivot away from this energy, this explosive energy. Things that you can start doing is having calm energy come in, having energy that the seeds that you might want to start creating instead or planting instead are ones of calmness, allowing yourself to breathe before you have a conversation with someone, and making sure that your actions aren't based from really intense, impulsive emotions, but from a more grounded space. So that's what we have here first for what you're planting, and maybe you want to change or pivot that depending on how you feel about the card. But on the other side, what you are harvesting, and we're going to get a lot more information here, so don't worry, we'll get more on that alder, is lavender. So these are things that you're harvesting. So this is stuff that you've already planted, which is why I said it was really interesting, because lavender, as a lot of us know, is very charming, it's very calming, very restful kind of energy. This is stuff of dreams and psychic energy, and when this card comes out, especially in its dusk position, which is what you have here, this is just telling me that you are you're going through a phase in which you're finally able to learn how to be possibly less explosive and how to not really continue that cycle. So since you're harvesting this and you're planting this is telling me that maybe you haven't fully learned all of the techniques that could be helpful to you to calm down in a situation, to really settle yourself in a situation before having or speaking, without thinking ahead or allowing yourself to calm down from the situation. So I definitely want to look further. We have alder and lavender here, very different energies, one super calm, one very explosive for your planting and harvesting. But I want to look at 2 cards to just explain a little bit more here for each side. So let's see, group one, let's get a little bit more information, 2 cards, please, there we go, on what you have. Oh, maybe we have more than 2. We're going to take this one at least. So we have the Empress card here for your alder wood, and then I'm going to see what else we get. The Emperor. The Empress card has a lot to do with fertility, right? So again, you are very fertile in planting this energy. This energy is still definitely very much being planted and rooted in you, especially sometimes even I'm getting this feeling like in your environment, even sometimes we don't want to continue to plant certain things in our lives, but the environment, the soil in which we are planting the seeds may be at a place in which is very fertile for this type of conflict, these types of conversations that are very explosive. So even maybe you aren't the one that are having these explosive thoughts, these explosive feelings, but you may have people around you who are, which is making it really hard for you to move away from planting those seeds continually as well, because it's just a continuous pattern. So it's about breaking that pattern. Let's see if we can get a little bit more here with your card. So group one, what do you have here with alder? Okay, wasn't sure about these ones. I'm honestly feeling like one down here. Okay, so we actually have the Queen of Rods here. So the Queen of Rods is actually quite a gossip kind of card. The Queen can be very like I said, very fiery, explosive. But the important thing to think about with the Queen, and that you also got it with the Empress as well, a lot of more feminine energy, although you can see that however you feel comfortable or how that really resonates for you, or even Empress energy. But within these 2 cards that we're getting here, within what you're planting, it's just telling me that you have a lot of passion, a lot of drive, a lot of sort of 333 energy, a lot of creativity, fertility, but because you have such, almost like, I'm almost getting this feeling like I was talking with the environment being a really big reflection of how you are planting these seeds. A good way to change your environment or to help with that is just having to really speak your idea and speak your truth, but from that calm and grounded place, right? The Queen has learned a lot of wisdom. She does speak with passion, she does speak with truth, she does speak with a lot of emotion, but she also does it in a way that is more grounded and rooted, where you can speak your truth without having to say it so from such an explosive or very raw space. I would even say is raw versus explosive. So it's just, I think, a really good thing that you could be doing in planting instead of really intense conversations, and maybe even if like calming down or breathing doesn't really help for you in that way, is like a creative element. So maybe instead of or as a way of processing your feelings about conversations or about a lot of really intense energy and intense emotions that you may be going through right now. Instead, what you can be planting is like getting creative, using your body as a way to dance through these emotions, using paint and splattering it on a canvas, or doing other cathartic ways of using creativity, I think is going to be really important for you and would be a more healthy thing to be planting for you at this time. But let's see the other side, because I have talked a lot on this alder card. Let's see a little bit more about what you're harvesting. So like I said, you're harvesting that lavender, that charming, wonderful energy. And I think that this is a continuous loop. So, right, you learn these new techniques, you kind of forget these new techniques. So I think it's still a building blocks kind of thing. But I want to see a little bit more information on how this lavender card is coming through. So first off, we have Temperance, all about balance, things coming back into balance. It is also kind of a cyclical energy as well. So I think that's really interesting. And I also really like how this specific Temperance card has like what you're planting finally coming into your hands, the things that you've had in your mind for a while finally harvesting into something that you can physically understand and touch and really capture. So I like that. So if you have been trying to manifest something or harvest something, it does seem like it's coming into fruition into your hands, something you can physically hold. If you work with specific smells or scents as well with this lavender card, and I think this is very specific to a few of you, that might also have something to do with this, like perfumes and things, other scents and sensual things. But let's see what else you may be harvesting here and more information. So we've got the Two of Blades. Interesting. So the Two of Blades, or the Two of Swords, has a very mental energy to it. And I was also getting quite a mental energy, seeing as we have the brain right here in the center. But what you are harvesting, it seems, is that you are finally making a decision on a route that you want to take. And this is starting to actually finally come in, that you can harvest the energy of finally either taking this step, or that you already finally took this step and you're getting the results from it. So if you've been trying to decide, you've been kind of in a crossroads, or you can't decide which way you want to go, or you made that decision and you're not sure if the results are going to be what you thought or if they're going to yield, it seems they really are. And there is reason to relax. There is reason to have time off. There is reason to have a vacation, because it does seem like that's really the things that you're getting kind of as the reward to all of this effort and this mental energy and load that you've been having in having to make this decision, or having to go a different way or a route than you had originally expected. So I love that so far for your harvest. Let's look a little bit further. So I'm going to pull one more card for each pile, and then we will pull an advice card and the charms. So let's see one more card here alongside Alder, the Empress, and the Queen of Rods for what you are planting at this time. The energy in which you are planting into your life, the planting little seeds budding on their way in. So I'll look at that one here in a second, but then let's see your other side here too, which just flew right out. So yeah, I'll reveal both of these. So the first one here we have is transform, rise above any situation and become the best version of you. I love this, right? Like I was saying, I feel like you've gone through this before. You've had situations where you've planted these seeds before of like feeling these gossipy, sticky, toxic environments. You learned coping mechanisms, and now you're kind of still feeling like you're stuck in it. It's like a continuous cycle. But because we got the transformation card, it's telling me that things are starting to shift, transform, or the way that you are reacting to the seeds that are, or reacting to the soil, is changing. And I think that comes from that creative element. I think that comes from not even just having to be physically creative by dancing or drawing or something like that, but it could also be transforming your idea of creativity, right? Creative thinking, thinking outside of the box. Those things are going to be really important for you to be planting at this time, so that whatever does come your way, you're going to be much more prepared for it. So I love that for your transform card. Let's see the other side. So here in your harvest, you got patience. Wait for the fruit to ripen. Yes, definitely a harvest kind of message, right? So patience, you're learning patience, to be patient with yourself, to be patient that this cycle may even continue beyond this place. But I do think each time it happens, you're getting better at dealing with the environment that you may be in at this time, right? Sometimes we don't have the choice to just move or move away from certain people that may be, adding this toxicity to our soil. But the way that we react to it, the way that we move through it, the healthy habits and coping mechanisms that we gain are going to be really important for you. And it's going to take time, but I think it's going to be really important. and impactful. I love this though for patience, especially with temperance, which is also about bridging that gap, finding that balance and that self-care. You've been patient and it's finally coming to fruition. You're finally getting the things that you want. So you've been waiting for long-term goals as well to come to fruition. This is another great card to showcase that that is happening, that you are finally getting the fruits to your labor. They may have had to come from a different route than you expected, but I do think that they are there. So let's go ahead and see one final card here, and then we will be pulling the charms. So if you want to send in any energy from any guides or anything like that, then feel free to do that now. Also, if you are enjoying this video so far, definitely be sure to give this video a like. It really does help, as I've been super excited to do this reading, and I hope it's been useful to you so far. But let's go ahead and see any advice coming through for you, group 1. That King of Wands. King of Wands came out. Okay, so the King of Wands and the Queen of Wands have come out in your pile here. So there definitely is this passionate, driving force. And seeing as you have both a King and a Queen in your pile, and also an Empress, and a lot of really very big transformational shifts coming in is what I'm getting. What you're getting is just to step up is kind of what I'm getting, like stepping up into a leadership position, or stepping up and reminding yourself that you are the main character of your life. I think it's really easy for us to sometimes put ourselves behind other people, or feeling like, even if we're in a position where we feel, or we are in a lower rank to someone, like in our job or other things, you are still the main character of your life. You are still the person running the show, right? We're still the one that gets to make the decisions. We still get to be sovereign over our lives. So I really like that came in for you for your advice card, because it's about reminding yourself, and especially since the King's really looking this way, is just reminding yourself that if you have other people that feel like they have authority over you, it's reminding you that you have authority over your life, your words, your choices, your actions, the impulsiveness or the creativity, that's all up to you. And that if you look to unlock different ways of thinking and creative thinking, I think that it's going to help that transformation come along. On this side, though, I do think that it's just, again, having that authority over your life, but allowing yourself to have authority to rest as well, and harvest that rest because of your fruits of your labor. So those are your cards here so far. Let's go ahead and pull your charms here to see the last final details. So feel free to send your energy in, and we're going to go ahead and pull them here for group 1. The seeds that you're planting and harvesting. Okay, got a few different ones coming in here. We had 2 that fell off, which I'm going to go ahead and pick up, but I will let you know that the number, just in case it resonates, is 12. Interesting. So the first one that really spoke to me before I'll go into any of them is here on patience, wait for the fruit to ripen. You have the charm that I always think of as like spirit or the universe, or serendipitous moments coming in that are working behind the scenes with the threads of the universe to make things happen for you, to help things manifest. So if you've been wanting something to manifest, like we have here, harvesting your seeds, the things that you've planted probably back in the spring, or that you're wanting to plant right now and see what the harvest is, it definitely seems like it's going to come to fruition at the end, because that's usually what happens when we get this charm. So definitely be patient if that hasn't happened yet, because it is a long-term goal, and that patience is going to be really important, but do know that they are working in the background for you. Other charms that you got here are showing up over here by the Queen of Wands, and here you have the guiding light. So you are the guiding light. Like I said, you are that main character. You're the one who gets to put a spotlight on the things that should matter to you. And seeing as I said earlier with the Queen of Wands, they really know their stuff. They know when people are, they're really good with communication, but they're also really good at expressing themselves and understanding that what you're passionate about and your creative drive and whatever comes through there is, if that's what's guiding you forward, then that's something to follow. The other charms that we got here are the pure little rose here. So whenever I get this, it feels like purity or things coming back to a very pure form. So reminding yourself, coming back to like that pure force, and that very passionate energy is going to be coming back in. And something to be advising is that that this situation that may be happening here with the alder is going to be temporary, and that it's going to be moving quite quickly throughout it's going to be starting to move out quite quickly, because we also have the cheetah charm. So seeing as we have the cheetah, that purity, and that really quick energy, it seems like things are going to be really starting to quickly speed up. But because of that, that can also make the communication that you have less time to sort of calm down and have a more rational conversation. So that's something to just keep in mind. But those are all of your charms and your cards. You're definitely going to be sort of harvesting a lot of patience, a lot of that balanced energy and relaxation, time off, that kind of stuff really coming in here. But on the other side, things to be just thinking about when it comes to what you're planting is that sometimes we want to plant the seeds that we want, but the environment that we're in doesn't always warrant what we want. So we have to either change the environment or find ways to protect those seeds from the soil becoming toxic. So these are just things to keep in mind moving forward with the different plans, manifestations, goals you have. And I do hope this reading was useful to you. If it was, please be sure to give this video a like, and also let me know in the comments down below how it resonated. If you had specific charms or cards that really spoke to you in any way, I would love to hear your thoughts, especially since I've been so excited to do this type of reading, and I'd love to hear if you'd like to do maybe this again like 6 months from now. I think that'd be a lot of fun. Also, if you are new to the channel and maybe this is one of your very first or couple of first readings here with me, I do these readings, all different types of readings like this, every single Monday for monthly and weekly readings, as well as spiritual, magical, more mundane love and career readings. So you can definitely check those out on my channel already, or feel free to subscribe or hit the notification bell so that you can be notified of the readings that I put out in the future. Also, if you haven't checked out the different offerings that I provide, they are a great way to support this channel. There is a Kindred tip jar down below. It helps me to supply more decks and charms and things to empower you through these readings. And also, you can check out the snail mail readings that I'm doing this month. And also, I have 2 sets left as of when I am recording this of the spring and spring equinox and Ostara spell and ritual paper that I hand make myself. It's eco-friendly and a great way to have a more earthly side to your magic that is very deeply rooted in the spring energy. So all of the information on all of the different offerings and tip jar will be down below. I do hope you enjoyed this reading. Thank you so much for being here with me and empowering yourself through this space, and I will see you in the next one. Bye. Hello group 2, if you've decided to choose this little succulent candle, then this is the pile for you, so we can start looking into what you are planting and harvesting for this season of spring or autumn, wherever you are with the equinox, or maybe you're watching this beyond when I first post this. I'd love to hear your thoughts as well for that. But we're going to be using the charms. We probably won't be using the watercolor affirmations today, but we'll see. We also are going to be using several different oracle decks and also tarot decks, and the main tarot deck that we're going to be using today is the Antique Anatomy Tarot, which is perfect for this reading as we are looking into sort of that spookier harvesting side, as well as all these beautiful florals for spring. So I just thought it was absolutely perfect for this reading, and I've been so excited to do this one. It's been in my mind for so long. So happy equinox for whichever one you may be watching at this time, if you're watching as I post this. But we're actually going to be starting with an oracle deck here today, and the one that we're going to be using is the Seed and Sickle Oracle. I have been studying this deck since the very beginning of the year, and have finally gotten through all of the cards because they each have double meanings to them, which will actually be really beneficial for this reading. So yeah, we're going to see how it all kind of works out for you. It is definitely a different kind of reading, so let me know your thoughts. I love to hear your feedback. And definitely feel free to get cozy, grab a blanket, some tea, a nice snack, a meal, whatever makes you feel comforted here. And we're going to get started. So feel free to send your energy in, and we'll look into one card for what you are planting and one card in which you are harvesting. So let's see, first off here, what are you planting here, group 2? Group 2, what are you planting at this time? What are you planting? Okay, so it seems you are planting... Ooh, you got citrus. What a fun one. This is in the specific position that you got it here with the dust or the dawn side of this card. This is all about leadership and really kind of being at the top of your game in a way. Like, this is very leadership vibes, feeling very much like the people in your life really listen and look up to you, being a mentor, a teacher of some sort. So we're going to look even further here in a minute, but let's see what else is coming in here for your harvest. So the things that you've planted in the past that are finally coming to harvest, or things you will be harvesting very soon. So let's see that energy here as well for you, group 2. Which one are you bringing in here for your harvest? Group 2, what are you harvesting? What are you harvesting? Definitely feel free to send your energy, and that always does help. Okay, cool. So you got hops. This is a really beautiful card. It is one of the last ones I actually ended up studying, so it's still quite fresh in my mind. This one has a lot to do with like harvesting from your explorations. It's a very explorative card, a very like adventurous card. So if you've recently been very adventurous, you've been really exploring new pathways. As you can see here, it's a vine, so it's constantly wanting to spread its wings out, spread its vines, I suppose, its leaves out to keep looking for really beautiful things. But the thing is, that does take a lot of energy. So here, as you are harvesting, you're finally getting to get like the fruits of your labor in that way, of that exploration. What did you learn from maybe traveling around the world? It could be something as big as that, or just as big as walking every day, or doing more exercise, or it can even be smaller things like exploring different hobbies or things like that, or reading, or a different perspective. Whatever it is that you've been recently exploring, that seems to be really coming in for harvest. So yeah, I'm actually going to talk more on your harvest first, and then we'll come back to your citrus here, as that's what I'm kind of feeling called to do. But yeah, with hops, it has the number 26 here in case that resonates. But as you can see, it's not only about the vine. And so in the dusk side of this card, which would be, the harvest, is finally allowing yourself time to rest, that self-care time, that care to kind of bundle yourself up in a bunch of blankets and cocoon yourself so you can feel really safe and cozy. So when we do a ton of exploration, it kind of reminds me of like, have you ever been like on a vacation and you need a vacation from your vacation? This is your vacation from your vacation. This is the moment to finally allow yourself to have a little bit of rest, which is funny because group 1 also had that energy coming in as well. So if you're feeling more called to that pile, or you felt kind of called to both, that might be a hint there. But there definitely is that rest element. We'll look further here in a minute, but let's look at citrus. So citrus has a lot to do with leadership, mentorship, teaching. So maybe things that you're planning to start to plant into your mental garden, the things that you're putting those intentions and seeds in, is something about a leadership position. Maybe you're moving up or wanting a promotion in your job. Maybe you're wanting to start to manifest maybe being a parent, or kind of leveling even up yourself, right? Maybe you feel like you want to be at a higher evolution of yourself in a way, sort of like, going from high school to college to a parent, or something like that, like a big evolutional step in your life. It could be all sorts of things. So see how that resonates for you with teacher, mentorship, leadership, and how you're really embracing that facet of yourself. So I really like that for your 2 cards. These are really beautiful cards to be both receiving on both ends of this. Very beautiful. So let's look a little bit deeper. So we're going to pull 2 tarot cards for each side to look deeper into the meaning of these cards and how they are more energetically working through you. So let's look first let's look at the harvest first. So let's look at 2 cards for your harvest here with hops. So let's look a little bit more here for group 2 for energy surrounding this harvest season of their lives. So I'm actually going to take this one, I think. Nope, it was definitely this one. It was a struggle there. They were all kind of competing, but here you are with the 2 of coins. Really interesting. This one has to do with balance, which definitely makes sense still, again, with that hops energy, with the 2 of coins, because the 2 of coins is all about things coming back into balance. It does also mean you having to juggle things. So because you were exploring so many different avenues, it definitely can, shock the system, because you're constantly like trying this new hobby and trying and doing this thing, that when you finally do rest, you realize the exhaustion that sometimes that takes on your body. So there is definitely a self-care message coming in here that, allowing yourself to rest is going to be really important, because you've seen all these new things that now is the time to record those things, to rest and write about them if you want to write a book about it, or you want to draw about the things that you've seen, or new perspectives that you've tried, or new hobbies that you've done. There is something about grounding back down, because the juggler doesn't ground right, they're constantly moving. So this is about kind of finding that grounding motion here again. So let's see group 2, a little bit more information on what they are harvesting at this time. What they are harvesting. Group 2. Okay, so we also have the Emperor, like basically what I was just saying, that steadying energy, because the Emperor is all about steady, slow and steady runs the race kind of ways, but it also has a leadership element to it too, which I think is really interesting. So you may have already been in a leadership position, but you're continuing to plant that. But yeah, the other thing that I get here with the Emperor is, right, you can see all these muscles, you can see all of this going on, and it makes me think that you've been like really pushing your body. So allowing yourself that rest, allowing yourself that cocoon may even be a little bit frustrating to you. Even though it is something that you finally get to harvest, doesn't mean you always want that rest, or that it's hard to allow yourself that rest. So that's something to keep in mind as well. That rest is going to be really important to you. Interesting too that you have hops, which is a vine, and then you have a bunch of vines kind of almost encircling this entire figure here. So I think that's really interesting, because it does, like I was saying, that exploration, as great as it is, can be a really big strain on our body if it continues to just sort of cycle around us. So it can be restricting in this weird freedom way. So see how that really reflects for you. But we're going to look deeper now with your citrus side. So what are you planting at this time? Little seeds in your mind with the citrus card of this new leadership role that you may be taking on, or wanting to take on, or manifest into your life. So we have here the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of coins. Sometimes it's hard because they're very pippish. You have the 7 of coins here, which the 7 of coins talks about a lot of hard work. So it's not going to be easy work, this new position that you want to plan and put into motion. It's not always going to be easy, but it's going to be well worth the plant, because it usually does mean that it's about kind of having faith in the long-term planning and knowing that you're going to have to put in the work, but it's going to be worth it in the end. The other thing that I think is interesting, though, is the 7 of coins usually does show a figure kind of being a little bit annoyed of how slow the growth is going. Like they're like, actually, I'm going to get it out because it makes a lot of sense. So I'm just going to pull it out here. All right, so here is the 7 of Pentacles. So you can see this figure looks quite like, I still am not done, it's still taking this long, or it's so close but just not there yet. There is this feeling of like longing for it to finally just be done and get there, and it may be just a really long-term goal you've been really, really waiting for, and that strain on it. But I think what's interesting too, though, is the Citrus card, when upside down, when you have the Dusk side of this card, is having that leadership position sort of suspended. So it makes me think again, like you've been putting in all this hard work, but you have to almost, maybe you're having to like wait for this leadership position. Maybe in the past you've been having to wait for you to finally be able to teach again, or be able to have this happen or come in. But it is coming in. That's the point, is these are still coming and blooming, but it is going to take a little bit more time. So continue to nurture those seeds. Let's see a little bit more information here for you, group 2, on Citrus and what you're planting, these goals and manifestations. Got a little bit too many there. Let's keep going. So group 2, feel free to send your energy in since so many cards want to fly out. Group 2, feeling this one. Okay, so we got the Ace of Elixirs, or also known as just the Ace of Cups, which is a very emotional drive towards why you want to do this. So it's not just that you want the power or the structure of a leadership role, but because you actually have a lot of emotional reasons why and motivators for why you want this position or why you want this specific leadership role, because it does seem that the hard work is going to be well worth it, because the emotional element here is showing that like maybe you want to really help others, or you want to be a figure in someone else's life that can be really positive, and that you can bring a lot of emotion and creativity even to this space. So yeah, I really like that. With the love potion here, can even also talk about maybe wanting to bring more of that love into your life, or love into this position as well, because maybe the position that you're looking for needs a little bit of love. So that's really interesting to have come in, a really interesting element. Let's look at 2 more cards here to look further into these energies. Then we'll pull an advice card from Spirit, and then the charms on top. So a few more things to hash out. Let's see. So first we're going to look into I'm actually going to look into your planting side. So what you're planting with this love potion or the ace, I'd love to hear a little bit more information on that, as well as the citrus and 7 of coins or 7 of pentacles. Okay, so we have adapt. You will get yourself where you want to be. So here we are with adapt. This is about being more adaptable. Maybe you need to adapt into this position, maybe the soil, so the environment in which you are planting yourself in. You might have to adapt or transform or change your ideas on what that means or how that works. And that may be why it's been taking so long for it to come to fruition, is maybe you're looking in the wrong place. Maybe this isn't the leadership role that you need, or maybe you need to tweak your idea of it a little bit and adapt and see how that works out for you. Let's see more on your harvest side, the things you are harvesting at this time. So with hops, the Emperor, more of that leadership role, but juggling and kind of a self-care message, cocooning yourself up, allowing yourself that vacation. Let's see a little bit more information here for group 2 on hops. Interesting that you just got like 2 flying out here. Okay, so we got a couple here. The 2 that we got here is success, bloom wherever you are planted. So again, the leadership roles from the past at least have really been working for you, but you may have to adapt them into the future. But also just that the juggling and everything was well worth it. You are going to have a lot of success from this. The other thing we have here is strength. Don't let weeds and thistles cultivate your garden. So again, with hops, like, it is a very explorative card, so it makes it seem it's a vine that continues to just grow out and out and out. So it kind of takes away all of those weeds, because it's taking up a lot of real estate, a lot of area. So again, I do think that like you really traveled a lot of places, or you really covered a lot of area in whatever it is that you've been exploring in, and that has given you the opportunity to not have things weed their way in, but it also didn't give you the space to breathe. So that's something to keep in mind as well, is allowing yourself to have a little breather, and that could be really good for you. So let's go ahead and pull your final card here, and then we will pull your charms. If you're enjoying this reading so far, it would be amazing if you could let me know by just giving this video a like. It really does make a huge difference, and I appreciate it so much. Also, feel free to send your energy in, or any energy of your spirit guides and the universe, or whoever you may work with for spirit, for this card of advice moving forward. So advice moving forward with what you're planting and harvesting at this time. Okay, interesting. So we got the Emperor again, another huge leader. They are all about leadership, all about structure, all about trying to figure things out. So interesting that you'd get the Emperor twice in this reading. Like I said, they are about structure, about leadership. They're about making really clear plans. And also, I think another thing that's important that's really coming through with this card is more of that love. So what you are leading has to come from a place of love, not from power, not for the money, not for the position, not for the victory or success or this feeling of that. It's because this leadership position gives you the opportunity to spread more love, to spread more awareness, to spread more care into whatever it is that you are leading. The people that you're leading really are important to you, and that it's really coming from a place of, community care. So I really like that for Emperor, and I think that's something to keep in mind for your advice moving forward. So we're going to move to the charms and see your final pieces of the puzzle here. So feel free to send your energy in, and we will pull some charms. So here we are, group 2, what you are planting and harvesting at this time. Okay. So I had one of these charms just fall all the way down my sleeve, and it was the letter S. In case that resonates for you, I'm just going to kind of set it here. But we had a few of them fall off of here, so I'm going to go ahead. Actually, since this one rolls, I'm not really sure we need that one. So I'm going to zoom you in a little bit so you can see a little bit better here. So we don't have too many charms, but what I think is interesting is we do have quite a few parallels from group 1 and group 2, even in your charms. So here we have the lighthouse charm, or the flashlight charm. I always think of this as putting a focus on things, or as, a guiding light in some way, an inner light to guide you. And we have that again, like I was talking about with this Emperor card, that it has to come from the heart, that it really has to come from a real, pure, true reason why you really want this role, and to elevate it in that way, because otherwise it's not coming from a place that's going to really help anyone in the community that you're leading or within yourself. So I think that's really interesting. The other thing, and the reason why it's interesting too, is that was a charm that we also got in pile number 1. Here in Adapt, you have the Lotus charm. So the Lotus charm is all about the thing that I just immediately got to, and this is different than what I was immediately going to say, is that the lotus comes from like the icky mud from the very bottom of a lake, right? And then it grows all the way up and has to go a really, really long way and stretch all the way up before you ever get to see the blossoms. So this is about also really showing people that as a leader, that you're not perfect, that you came from the muck at the very bottom of the lake bed, that you came from really working through that to get all the way to where you are now. And I think it's really important to lead in that way. The first thing that I was going to say though, before that kind of intuitively came in, is that a lotus is also about really opening yourself up and adapting. So it's interesting that that came in too. The one that I felt immediately when I first started pulling these charms was the cycles charms. This isn't about breaking a cycle. This is about a cycle that's really working for you, but it is one that's continuing, is that you haven't gotten to the end of what you're planting, right? That you keep having things go and go and go with that 7 of Pentacles. That, they're leaning on the thing. They're waiting for things to grow. They're feeling a little impatient even. This is about continuing to have that patience because the goal is coming to fruition, because that's what this charm really shows. Other things coming in, we have here at the new moon, instead of the full moon here, we have right in between both of them, spirit hanging on and helping you in between to have this fresh new start, but also to have those harvests. So you definitely have someone watching over you, an ancestor, a spirit guide, the universe, your higher self, however you see this, but they are watching over you in some way and helping that to continue to come forward. You honestly didn't have a lot over here, if any, on this side. So it does tell me that whatever you have going on over here with that juggling, it is coming to rest. That exploration is coming to rest, and you really get to, sit in that cocoon and have some time off before all of this begins to get planted. And then lastly, at your very heart center of the Emperor, you have the root charm. So I always think of this as like the very root of something being rooted in love or being rooted in passion and drive. So again, all of that coming in once more in this charm rather. So those are all of your charms and your cards here today. If it resonated for you, I would love to hear your thoughts in the comments down below or through liking this video or both. I would love to hear your thoughts and feedback also on this new type of reading, because I think it'd be really fun to do it again around 6 months from now at the next equinox. So let me know your thoughts, because I think it'd be really cool. And also, if you enjoyed this reading and you want to see the other readings that I have on my channel, definitely feel free to check them out, as I put out new readings every single Monday for love, career, spirituality, for your own personal empowerment, magic, weekly and monthly blessings, messages, and so much more. So definitely feel free to subscribe if you haven't already. And if you are subscribed, definitely feel free to hit the bell as well to stay notified of each of the readings that I put out in real time. And if you'd like to support this channel even further, then definitely feel free to check out the different offerings that I provide. Right now, I have the Kindred tip jar down below, as it's a great way to support this channel by bringing in more decks and supplies, and it's really such a useful way to be able to give back to this space if that's something you'd like to do. It's definitely not necessary, but it does really help, and I do truly appreciate it. It's helped a lot with the different supplies that I already have here right now. Also, if you would like to check out the other offerings that I provide for snail mail readings, where I send a letter to you in the mail, it's typed up on a vintage typewriter and wax sealed closed, and all that fun jazz for different queries and questions you have, as well as the different paper that I create. I create handmade paper for spells and rituals, and right now I have 2 sets left for the Ostara or spring equinox, as well as the season moving through spring. Then you can definitely check out those different offerings down below as well. So those are the different ways you can help support this channel, how you can subscribe or send in your feedback. And I hope you found this reading useful, and I will see you in the next one. Bye. Hello group 3, if you've decided to choose this piece of moss and lichened piece of bark, then this is the pile for you. I'm going to set it down right here for you, as we are going to be looking into what you are planting and harvesting at this equinox stage, although you could be watching this at any time and it could still resonate for you. But as I am posting this, we are at the spring equinox and the fall equinox, and it's just such a fun time to see what you are planting and harvesting together, and how those may be working against or with one another. We're going to be using the charms, probably not the watercolor affirmations today, but don't worry, we will be using them in a later reading. We are also going to be using several different oracle and tarot decks, and the main tarot deck that we're going to be using here today is the Antique Anatomy Tarot, which, as I've said in the other readings so far, I'm so excited to use. is because it has all these beautiful botanicals, but it also has this spookier element that comes in with the fall. So it's perfect for both seasons, if you are in the southern or the northern hemisphere. The other things that we're going to be using to start this reading isn't actually going to be a tarot deck like I normally do. Instead, we're actually going to be starting with the Seed and Sickle Oracle, which I haven't got to use on my channel yet because I've been studying this deck behind the scenes for weeks since December, really. So I'm really excited to bring it to you here today, and it's perfect for this reading as each of these cards have two different meanings. One side is more of that planting and go action side, which they call the dawn, and then we have the dusk side, which we'll be seeing here for what you're harvesting. So this is perfect for those energies. So definitely feel free to get settled, grab some water, a nice blanket, some tea, whatever's really calling out to you, and we are going to go ahead and get started. So send your energy in, and let's go. Group 3, let's look first into what you are planting. So what are you planting here, Group 3? Group 3, what are you planting at this time? Group 3, what are you planting? All right, so we had one flip here. Interesting. So you have bramble, which is all about preparation. That's what I see whenever I see this card. If you've ever watched The Lion King, it makes me think of that like song where they're like, be prepared. This is like that be prepared song in a nutshell. Because bramble is all about thinking ahead, thinking of the next thing that could happen, both good or bad. So it's really planning for the future, which is really interesting since you're planting that. But this is about really planting and planning for really long-term goals and really thinking through the entire process. So it may be that you're planting organization, planning, and those sorts of things. But let's look a little bit deeper here by looking into what you are harvesting. So these are things that you've already planted in the past that are finally coming to harvest. Ooh, one of my favorite cards. You got Pimpernel, such a good one. So this is about you possibly being at a crossroads in the past. And I've just realized I didn't tell you the numbers, but we have 44 here, and it is in the winter suit. And in this case, we have in the spring suit, the Pimpernel with the number 12. So see how that resonates for you. But this is about trusting your inner compass, trusting advice from those who've gone through a situation in the past similar to yours. And also Pimpernel is about really listening to your subtle senses and seeing what comes through. So you may have been really working with your intuition recently. Maybe you've really been trying to work with others, mentorships, teachers, guides, things like that to help lead you forward. And it's really helping you to get on the path that you really want to be on. So I really like this so far for your two different cards, but we are going to first talk about a little bit more with bramble. As you can see in this card, they kind of have this sort of rope getting tighter and tighter around these flowers. And the thing is, if you're always focusing on all the good things that are going on in your life, you might not realize that it's very easy to lose those things. And it's sometimes it's also that you may be planting at this time like gratitude, and also what's the word I'm looking for? Taking things for granted. That's what I was trying to come up with. You want to plant seeds to make sure that you're not taking life for granted or taking, the things that you're harvesting and the things that you've been receiving recently for granted. So it may even be what you're harvesting that you don't want to take for granted. So you're putting planting seeds of gratitude in your life, planting seeds of understanding, compassion towards yourself and how far you've come, and all that kind of good stuff. But like I said, there is this rope around kind of getting tighter and tighter. And so it's sometimes also that anxiety in the back of our minds, not allowing ourselves to enjoy the little things because we feel like there could be a curveball around any corner. But I think the important thing is to just feel prepared when those come, right? It's really easy to keep those anxious thoughts, especially when we don't feel prepared. So find ways to prepare yourself to combat that by planting those seeds in a way that are finding coping mechanisms, or by writing in your planner or writing in your journal or looking and researching the thing that's been giving you those anxious thoughts in the back of your mind so that you'll be more prepared if something does happen. And it's not that we can stop a hailstorm from coming or stop a big, natural disaster from coming our way energetically or otherwise, but it's that we're prepared for that moment because we've thought ahead enough to be prepared. So I really like that for you, for what you're bringing in to plant. And we're going to look deeper here in just a minute. But with Pimpernel, this is also about, the folklore of this is that this plant grew from someone they stayed so long at like a kind of fork in the road that they just ended up turning into a pimpernel. So it's about making sure you do move forward, and I do think that you followed your inner compass, that you followed mentorship, and that you followed people to get to this point, but it's making sure that you don't stay there. Otherwise, you're going to continue to harvest more crossroads, is what I'm getting. Like if you don't move, if you don't keep moving, you're going to become that pimpernel, and you're not going to be able to harvest the things that you want because you're kind of just stuck and stagnant. And I think that comes from that anxiety feeling, right? That you feel like you maybe can't move forward because you don't want to lose what you have, and you don't want to plant things that aren't from a place of preparation. So these are definitely working together here. Let's look even further. So I'm going to pull 2 cards for each of these sides with the tarot card. So first we're going to start with Bramble. Let's look a little bit deeper with Bramble here. And we're already getting ones flying out to see what you have coming in for what you are planting at this time. Okay, so I think I'm actually going to take the one that flew in here. So we got 2 different ones. Definitely makes sense, as the 2 you got here for the planting side is, and sorry, I'm losing my voice a little bit here, so if it starts to sound a little raspy, I've had a cold all week, so I'm just starting to recover from it. But anyways, we have the Calming Tonic. It says number 14, in case that resonates for anyone. And I just realized you have I was going to say 2 kings, but I guess you don't. You have a knight and a king. But you have a king energy, so a lot of leadership, a lot of wisdom coming from this card. And it's in the elixir. So this is about you're really good at gripping your emotions. Like I said, I do feel like you understand that you have anxiety or you have these anxious thoughts, nervousness, or feeling like you know where the source of that comes from, but you're still learning the mechanisms of making sure you feel prepared. So again, I do think that's just coming in because the Knight of Blades is all about communication, but they are, of all of the knights, very impulsive, very quick, and they're just like, okay, well, I don't know what to do, so I'm just going to go this way. You know what I mean? They just kind of like fly and fleet and move around like that, kind of all jittery. So if you feel kind of jittery right now about a certain subject in your life, this is the perfect time to start planting that preparedness. And that comes from sometimes having to face things head on that we don't necessarily feel comfortable in, but that comfortability comes from the confidence you gain from the information that you learn to become more prepared. I hope that sentence made sense. But let's look a little bit further here with Pimpernel now, as I want to see a little bit more about what you're harvesting. So let's see what else you are harvesting here with Pimpernel at your side. Let's see, group three, what you are harvesting at this time. Okay, so here we are with the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of elixirs. Sometimes it's hard to tell the exact amount, but here you are with the 7 of elixirs. The 7s are always about introspection for me, which I think is interesting that you have it on the side of introspection and the fact that it's harvesting. But the 7 here really does make sense because whenever you see this card, it usually typically has a bunch of floating cups with different options that you could take. It really is a crossroads card. It is this card of dreaming and fantasizing, oh, I could take this cup, but almost having too many options, you don't actually do anything. You don't actually move forward. It just stays in this dreamy landscape, which is what I was getting with Pimpernel already, was this feeling of like, yes, you could harvest things, but you're feeling too stuck to be able to really enjoy your harvest, or that you maybe haven't taken a path, and that maybe even comes from that preparedness, right? Like you're almost like, well, if I just stay here, then I'm okay. But storms can come at any time. Even if we think that we're perfectly prepared, it can still come. So I think it's really important that you do start to head down a path so you can have the harvest, because I want to see a little bit more. Let's see what you would get if you did head down the path, or maybe what is holding you back. See which one comes out and see how I feel about it. But group 3, okay, so we got more elixirs, and we got, of all of the elixirs that you could be getting, or cups, you got the 9, and then you also got the strength card right underneath it. So beautiful. The strength card is all about courage and bravery to take that step forward. So if you have been recently wanting to harvest from your goals, you have all these ideas in your head, but you can't actually enjoy the harvest because you didn't actually plant the seeds. This is about finally also planting those seeds, because you're more prepared to do it this time around. And the other thing you got is the 9 of elixirs, which is the wish card, the manifestation card, things finally coming to fruition, feeling emotionally really confident. So it definitely is like you're going to be gaining all this confidence. And when I did this reading, I was sort of reading it more so like, these are the things you're currently harvesting and these are the things you're currently planting. But because you didn't necessarily maybe make these steps forward, and if you feel like you did, and maybe this is just what happened for you, you're finally at that wish card of the 9, which is amazing. But if you haven't made those steps forward, I do think that this time around you're going to get a second chance, because you're more prepared this time and you want to be more prepared. So you can have the strength to go after the things that you want instead of letting them just float in the air. So I really, really love that. Like I said, my voice is definitely heading out. So I'm going to move on to your next few. So we're going to pull 2 cards here for a little bit more information. Then we're going to pull 1 card here for advice from Spirit, and then we'll be pulling the charms. So if you are enjoying this reading so far, it would be so appreciated by me if you do let me know by sending in a little like to this reading and this video. But let's go ahead and pull those 2 cards. So let's look a little bit more into what you are planting, and then we'll look for one on the other side. So here's planting. You have radiance, keep your head held high and follow the sun. And then you have a little sunflower over here. How cute. Radiance always also makes me think of like not only clear skies and things like that, but also clarity. It gives you a clear vision whenever you see the sun fully out, right? Especially at high noon, you have no shadows at high noon, right? Because everything is straight up and down right at the sun. So you don't have any shadows at high noon. So this is about having no shadows at high noon, because you have explored the shadows. You've explored the sides that you feel like are going to trip you up, so that you are more prepared. So more on that same energy. Let's look to the other side here with Pimpernel and look to this strength to finally head down the path. Oh, and you got grow. So beautiful. So it says grow. All flowers must grow through the dirt. The hard stuff has to grow through the dirt. But that's so beautiful. You are going to grow. You are going to have this flourish and come to fruition. You have so much potential to do so. But it does mean you have to make a step forward, or you'll be like the tail of the pimpernel and never actually move. You'll just become a flower at that crossroads. So explore your options, start seeing and maybe even helping yourself to be more prepared. Maybe even make a list of the different options and steps that you could take forward and see the pros and cons on it. Give yourself a structured way of being able to look at it. But we're going to see an advice card from Spirit and see what they have to say. So if you have a specific spirit or guide or goddess or something like that you work with, then definitely feel free to send that energy in here now, or even your higher self. I don't think that was it, but yeah, I don't think that one was it. It felt like it just flew out. So if it flows out again though, we'll see. But let's see, group 3. You know what? I'm going to pull it back out because the more that I shuffle this, and it was right there too, the more that I shuffle this, it just felt like it was it. So, okay, we're going to go with it. So we have, interestingly, and the more that I think about it too, it makes sense, but the Seven of Swords. The Seven of Swords always gets sort of a bad rep. It's usually about, sneaking around. You can see they've kind of like, they're trying to get away with something by heading out of this tent. But the thing is, you usually don't have a lot of information when you look at this card, right? You look at it and you're like, are they stealing the swords? Are they bringing them back? Are they just holding too many and that's why it's kind of a struggle for them? Are they... it's like, who knows what's actually happening in this card? It's very mysterious. People don't really have all of the facts. So again, preparation coming in here, hardcore with your pile. So that is definitely a message coming through for more of that advice message. But this also talks about giving yourself, knowing that you don't need to steal or take anything for you to be able to have this grow, that you should be able to do it without having to get sneaky about anything. It's just going to make things more muddled and more confusing. So you don't need to, if you're worried about the pressure from someone or worried about like, well, what if I'm not doing it right? Or I feel like I need to be doing it this way or that way or someone else's way and I don't know if I want to do it that way. Whatever you may be feeling where you feel like you have to sneak kind of around on or tiptoe around a situation, I think it's really important to just have clear communication, because otherwise that's just going to muddle things up and make it more anxious for you. So that's a really nice card actually to be getting for your specific pile here. So let's go ahead and look at your charms to finish off the details and bits and bobs left here for your reading. So definitely feel free to send your energy in, and we will look here for group 3 for what you are planting and harvesting. Okay, we have a few different charms showing up here, and I'm going to zoom you in so you can see a little bit easier, but a few fell off of here, so I'm going to go ahead and pick them up, but I'll show them to you in case they resonate in some way. So you have the young Simba charm, feeling kind of naive, and then you have the key to your soul or your spirit. So I think that's interesting. Came near radiance. I'm talking about it so much, maybe it actually does mean something. So I'm going to leave it here in case that resonates for a few of you. The other charms that we got here, we have Virgo showing up here, a more mutable sign, a sign of earthly energy, and actually, the day that I'm currently filming is actually Friday, the night of the Virgo full moon. So that may even resonate for you as well, that maybe you planted seeds that specific day or something like that for your own manifestations. But that's coming up here. It fell near Bramble, and the Radiance card of keep your head held high and follow the sun. The other side of this says practical. And Virgos are very practical, or at least stereotypically, as they typically showcase having really good organizational skills and that thinking ahead energy that you maybe want to exude. So that's really cool. We have self-care showing up here. This is the self-care charm, although it came in more of a temporary sense. So this may be that you have done self-care in the past, but that this is going to be a different form of self-care. Whenever we think of self-care, or at least stereotypically, I feel like we think of like a bubble bath or a nice spa day. But sometimes self-care also comes in the way of like making sure you got your homework done so you feel good for the rest of the day, or making sure you got that pile of laundry done so you feel good for the rest of the day. Sometimes it's about getting rid of those stresses in our lives so that we can enjoy the little things. The other charms that you got here, you have the kind of in between both what you're harvesting and planting, upside down, you have the fresh start charm, because these are like like those tree air fresheners for your car. So this is about like a fresh new start in travel, or a fresh new start in that way, a new car smell. But seeing as it was upside down, it means that it never did actually get started. So again, more of that same energy, but it says little trees, and it also says since 1952, in case that resonates for you. But the little trees just makes me think that, right, a little tree can really grow to be something really big and wonderful if we allow it to even begin growing in the first place. So I think that's beautiful to see too. And the last charm that you got here, and this is the one that really like when I was wrestling around with the charms, this one really spoke out to me first, and it is the washer charm. So this is about feeling wishy-washy about something, which we've already kind of spoken about, feeling kind of wishy-washy for you, but it also makes me think of wanting a fresh start, cleaning something up, a washer in that way, and it fell over here on the Nine of Cups in a way. So the Nine of Cups is that wishful fulfillment, that dreaming and finally getting what you want and feeling emotionally fulfilled by it. So it may even be that, like, seeing as this was upside down before and it's all about fresh new starts, that maybe you need to lower your expectations of what you'll get from going down this road and just exploring it and enjoying the process versus trying to get to this end result of some sort, because that's something you're still quite wishy-washy about, and on top of it, it just might add excess stress that you don't need. So those are all of your charms here today. I hope you found them helpful and useful to you for the both of the sides that you have coming in for planting and harvesting. If you enjoyed this reading, do please be sure to let me know by giving this reading a like. As I mentioned before, it really does help the channel so much and helps other kindred spirits find their way here. But also let me know in the comments down below. Maybe a washer means something to you, or a paper clip, maybe the Simba charm, or different cards here. I would love to hear your thoughts. I always love hearing how they resonate for you. Also, if you are new to the channel, maybe this is one of your very first readings here with me, then definitely feel free to subscribe and join this kindred spirit space as I put out new readings every single Monday for love, career, spirituality, monthly readings, timeless readings, 2-week readings, blessings, and so much more. So definitely feel free to subscribe, and maybe even if you've been here for a while, to hit the notification bell as well. And if you would like to support this channel even further, then a great way to do that is checking out the Kindred tip jar down below, as it is definitely not required or anything like that, but it does really make a huge difference, as it helps me to purchase more supplies, to locate more charms, things like that, to really uplift this space even further for your own empowerment through these readings. And you can also empower yourself even further by the other 2 offerings that I provide, which at this time are snail mail readings, where I send a reading to you in the mail on the query that you're looking into, or the theme for career, love, or whatever it may be. But they are typewritten on a vintage typewriter and sent through the mail, wax sealed closed for your eyes only. And I also have handmade magical spell and ritual paper that I create, and currently have only 2 sets left of the spring equinox and Ostara paper, although I'm personally going to use it all the way through Easter and the spring season, so it is definitely useful for all the way through spring. So definitely feel free to check that out, as it'll help to uplift your magic during this time, and to do it in an eco-friendly way. So definitely feel free to check out all of the information down below, and just see what they're all about and how it can uplift your magic, this space, and so much more. And yeah, I'm rambling now, so thank you so much for being here, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.